Alrighty. Well, welcome back to the Twilight Network. Sorry that we're a little late. Uh, Technical issues abound. Alright. Let us... Beautiful. Okay. Well, g'day. Welcome to the Twilight Network. My name is Liam. I am the key person running Twilight Network. And yeah, I'm really pleased to be here, as today we're going to go through the bisexual disaster movie, which is The Mummy from 1999, and pull out one of the characters from The Mummy, Imhotep, and play around with who Imhotep is, and use the Mummy the Curse system to basically work through how we might want to build Imhotep, how we would use Imhotep, and all that sort of stuff. As always, I would just like to acknowledge country. The country I'm on is the Taira Note Pana Lands in the north of Tasmania, and I just want to acknowledge the Palawa and Liaputa people of Tasmania in their various roles in guiding and walking us through Aboriginality here on the land, and pay respect to them. G'day Manalogan and Hanaji, hope you're doing well. Alright, well, let's crack into this. Just gotta catch my breath, get my head into the zone. Am I coming through for you guys? Had a few technical issues last week. Loud and clear, I love to hear it. Alright, so let's jump to here. This is basically what my intention is. So we're going to look at Imhotep, the high priest of the Mummy and the key antagonist of the Mummy movie, and basically walk through some of his powers. Then we're going to look at cults and building his tomb of Hamunaptra, and then how I would kind of use Imhotep in a Mummy game if I was going to use him at all. Alright, so let's just zoom that in. Imhotep in The Mummy is invincible, superhumanly strong, superhumanly agile, and has amazing control of a cult of individuals and our minds and hearts forevermore. So within that, go away D drive. I do not want the D today. So if we were going to build Imhotep, we would be slapping on things like the Enduring Flesh car, what's it called again? Friends? Affinity. Now, affinities are kind of your bread and butter powers in Mummy. Think of them like Changeling the Lost common contracts, and that's basically what they do. They give a... Better be vitamin D. Yeah, well, sunshine is necessary for all of us, I suppose. Now, affinities are powered by using the pillars of Ab, Ba, Ka, Ren, and Sheut. These are tied to the ancient Egyptian styles of understanding the soul. Soul comes in 5 parts, and each one is tied to different things. So, here we go. Wait, where'd my notes go? Slap them over here. So, Imhotep is invincible, so we're going to give him Enduring Flesh and Living Monolith and Scorpion Veins. Each of these are improving his capability to take damage, deal damage, that sort of thing. For example, if we jump to the Mummy core rulebook, if my search function works properly, we'll see Enduring Flesh. The Arisen user adds her, or in this case his car, to athletics rolls apart from attacks, and ignore their car rating aggravated damage caused by fire each scene. Always reduces aggravated damage inflicted by supernatural sources by car rating to a minimum of 1. This sort of power is exactly the sort of... which edition? We're using 2nd edition. I don't know. I'm just going to call you Sal. I haven't met you before, but we're using 2nd edition Mummy. So we're looking at the sorts of things that will really buff his power. Living Monolith is another example of that, where the Arisen always ignores wound penalties and gains additional permanent health levels equal to car rating. The sort of vague and evocative power we're wanting with this is that this Imhotep would be not just the always coming version of Mummy that we already have, but also the something that gives characters in particular moments of pause to think and go, oh, do I actually want to take him on head on? Are there ways that I can think around this? Equally, slapping on Dominating Might, which is also a car affinity power, and Superhumanly Agile, which is an UB affinity power, are the sorts of things that will boost what Imhotep is able to do. So Swift as the sun. Soul. Dominating Might. Because this is an antagonist, I'm not keeping strictly to the character creation. We just want the powers of this creature to be evident through the cult and evident through what we're going to use. So if you were using him, what you'd be looking to do would be to... what I would be looking to do is looking at each of his affinities and then giving them, just slapping their rating effectively, or which soul affinity they're from, as the pillar rating. So we have 1, 2, 3 car based powers, 2 UB based powers, and 1 Sheut based power. So you look looking at that sort of distribution is how I would do this. I may, if I was running this properly, I'd probably boost those a little way just to give this antagonist that real flair for what they're supposed to use and what they're supposed to be. Now, all mummies get access to. Let me just make sure I get the rules correct here. All mummies also get access to an affinity that is based on their guild. The guild is, if you're, the guild is what kind of is what this mummy was created to be in Irem, the ancient place of that created mummies to facilitate some sort of aspect within their world. In this case, the guild that we're going to give Imhotep is partially based off the movie, but also based off real life Imhotep, who was this architect. And we're going to give him the Seshar Hebsu, a guild that is based around law and acquisition of knowledge and truth and understanding. We're going to give him the burden that is most tied to the car, which is Nezrem, the bull. I believe it's the bull-headed. And that is really going to be all that we need to do here. Affinities are powerful. Let's bounce this around. Affinities are powerful and they're very easy to activate. You just use pillar points to power them, just like you would with, say, blood for disciplines or mana for spells. They are the bread and butter supernatural abilities of the mummy. This is not the same for utterances. Utterances are powerful. They're 4th to 5th level mage spells. They're huge royal contracts. They are if you're familiar with werewolf, utterances are the glory gifts. They are things that are biblical forms of destruction and absolutely terrifying to bear witness to. All mummies start with the dream of dead gods utterance. But for Imhotep, we also want to slap on his ability to awaken lesser mummies, so awaken the dead. Get a bit more agility with relentless horror. And control over the elements and that sort of stuff. Evoking the Tempest's fury, pestilent whispers, revelations of smoke and flames, and water of life and death. Utterances work differently to affinities. Utterances have tiers that are based on pillars. So, because and so they're limited by them, by the pillars. The key one is that we'll work with is this one, Awaken the Dead. So Bar 1, Sheot 2, and Ren of 5 gives you full access to Awaken the Dead. Bar 1 allows you to ask a corpse as many questions as they wish, and the corpse has to answer. Speak with Dead in D&D if you're used to it. A lot of the way that utterances are designed to work is to create this horrific power behind the mummy that is so difficult to fight against. So, Dream of Dead Gods allows us to do some fun stuff. Awaken the Dead allows us to engage in some fun necromancy, relentless horror, dodge and all that. And these last 4 of invoking the Tempest Fury, Pestilent Whispers, Revelation of Smoke and Flames, and Water of Life and Death gives Imhotep the ability to activate the 10 plagues of Egypt effectively and burn his way across Egypt to find the canopic jars that he can reconstitute himself and use his cult to do something new and interesting, which is awaken Anak Sunamun. The cult of Imhotep is not particularly present in the first Mummy movie. It's in the second Mummy movie as a counterpoint to the Magi. So we're kind of going to base this off that. Tea is nice. And we'll build a few more elements into the Imhotep cult. So Imhotep's cult is a secretive cult. They are obedient to him. They are devoted to Imhotep's prime goal of resurrecting Anak Sunamun. Now, cults in Mummy the Curse come in 3 forms: conspiracy, tribal, and the other one, the special other one. Here it is. Enterprises. Each one gives different benefits, but in this case, we're going to go with conspiracy. They are secretive. They are behind the walls, behind the doors, watching everything that's going on. They are the cult that generates more and more for Imhotep. Now, cults get virtues and vices listed here. These can be, Chronicles of Darkness, with its use of virtue and vice, differs a lot from First Edition. First Edition New World, you used the 7 deadly sins and 7 noble virtues of Christianity. In this case, these are just virtues. These are just good things. In the case of virtues, and vices are bad things that you do. They're a way to generate willpower. They affect social maneuvering. They're useful little things. In this case, the cult's virtue is loyal. You have to be pretty loyal to be able to last over, 2,000 years, I think, from when Imhotep first goes into the ground. You have to be loyal to be able to fight against the Magi, all that sort of thing. And as such, they're a dogmatic cult. They are driven by their doctrines. They are driven to adhere to them. And this cult, will be the thing that would drive conflict between Imhotep and the players. Their dogmatic nature should make stories interesting. Because players may approach this and go, oh, we can talk to them, we can rationalize with them. Yes, you can, but you have to accept what the cult says is true, what the conspiracy says is true, and what you believe is not necessarily the case. As such, they have two doctrines, two key ideas that bind them to something. This is Serve Imhotep and Resurrect Anak Sunamun. Ordinarily, cults get an additional one, but I'm running this as a mutinous cult. They've ditched the judges of Duat, the beings that really guide mummies, and they're just doing their thing. Alright. This character sheet's a little confusing with its setup, but scroll down a bit more. Cults get a few fun little bits. They have two key attributes, if you like. That's reach and grasp. Both of them, both reach and grasp, start with 1 dot each, and they represent different abilities within the world. Your reach is your ability to go through the setting. How penetrating is this cult? How much work have they done? Probably not an acceptable use of the word penetration, but whatever. They're all through and reaching into all elements of legal life. You've got cult members in high society. You've got cult members in business, all this sort of stuff. Cult members who are used to using legality to get their way. Because of this, if you want to play into Mummy's kind of sub-themes of colonialism, and play with the themes of how do we decolonize ourselves, how do we decolonize who we are, having an antagonistic cult with lots of reach can be a really good counterpoint, particularly with a dogmatic vice where they're just pressuring the players as much as possible. Grasp, on the other hand, is the illegal side of that. It's how ruthless a cult is, how far they're willing to go to get a job done. Neither of these is particularly nice, but if you're using grasp to achieve something, that is fair to assume that your cult, whatever that sort of cult this takes, will kill, will maim, will burn their way across the land to achieve their goal. Which we kind of see in the first Mummy, where Imhotep puts pustules and all that sort of stuff onto the citizens of the town and indoctrinates them into his cult. This is grasp going on. They are willing to die for him, and they're willing to ruthlessly murder someone for Imhotep. Alright. As this is a conspiracy cult, their grasp increases by 2. They're secretive. They're behind the scenes, and they're working to achieve something. They're also incredibly ruthless, as we see through particularly The Mummy 2, The Mummy Returns, 2001. Let me double check the let me check the name of this cult, because it's just called the Cult of Imhotep, according to mummy.fandom.com. So we'll just change that name. Cult of Imhotep. Sort of secretive organisation that plays with the wills and capability of people. Alright. This fidelity bar is the cult's health, effectively. how much of a beating can your cult take before they experience a fracture? Fidelity has a base of 5, 3, 4, 5, and the lowest of reach and grasp go into it. So we'll just stick in 1, because reach is pretty low. Dominance is like the supernatural stat. It's how much power the mummy exerts over the people within the cult. Oh, that's incorrect. It's the level of material and supernatural power the cult wields. So, with this build, we're probably wanting to up dominance, because the Cult of Imhotep in the Mummy 2 and in the Mummy 1 is something that has these resources, has these abilities. And if my headphones would stay active, that'd be great. We'll also increase the grasp and the reach. Grasp is something that the Cult of Imhotep should have in high amounts. The grasp is what is making them as dangerous as they are to the characters, to the O'Connell family. Alright. Merits. Merits are the fun stuff, as always. For Mummy, the sort of merits that we want to give this are merits that increase their effectiveness and their devotion to Imhotep. They're worshipping Imhotep as a god, as their messiah, as their hero, as their high priest. So we're going to slap on devotees, which gives a +1 to dominance on certain roles. General merits. It increases the cult's fidelity track, not dominance. So they can take a bit more of a beating mentally. We're going to slap on fanatical, which means that when the cult takes a cult action beyond the limits of their dominance, they gain a +2 bonus to the reach and the grasp for that action. This does come with a drawback. If the cult can't fulfill this will, they take a point of bashing damage to their fidelity. We want scapegoats, which means that the cult can blame other people for their actions. We want ritualistic cult. This helps Imhotep regain the pillar points that he may expend for his affinities. And let's fill out some of these. Just do it that way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Each one giving different powers and different bonuses. And we actually get another merit dot, which, if any of you guys in chat have any idea of what you think would work for Imhotep, like the social merits of resources, allies, that sort of thing, just post it into chat, let me know, and I'll slap it in, because I think this works, and maybe ritualistic cult can be taken out, but you tell me what you think is correct. Now, for a cult, their doctrines um, give them the ability to earn cult beats, as do the normal conditions for accruing beats. If fidelity is damaged, it takes more time to heal. Bashing, I think, is a day, lethal a week, and aggravated damage takes a month to heal. So if the cult takes a lot of damage in a short space of time through warfare or someone else's cultic actions, striking looks? Striking looks? So one of the things about the cult merits is they tend to be sorts of things that groups can have. So I guess, actually no, striking looks can work. It's not book legal, but whatever. Homebrew is the best brew. Striking looks, because the mummies in the first movie, when you see boils and sores, you're seeing the effects of the mummy's sechem, their life force leaking out. So each person in the cult having a single dot, being able to draw upon striking looks and kind of disgust or fear at what's taken place to them, I think is rad. That's a really good idea. Thank you very much, Hanashi147. All right, this is going well. The next element to Mummy the Curse that we're going to play around with is that of tomb. Each mummy, when they die, they are buried beneath the earth. They are put into a tomb where they await for the Sothic cycle to rebirth them with Sechem and life force, and they get up and start moving, or they wait until the cult awakens them. All tombs gain a single point of geometry at startup when you purchase it, and that just means that geometry allows them to heal some damage, heal pillar points effectively. Perils here indicates the traps of this place, and provisions indicates the equipment bonus of the items within there, effectively. The availability of the items. Imhotep's tomb is Hamunaptra, the city of the dead. City of the dead, when we see it in the Mummy, has statues of Anubis everywhere. It is a ritual place dedicated to the creation of mummies and to the creation of and to the interaction between the underworld in the movie and the real world. In this case, what we'll be looking at is the interaction between the judges of Duat and the real world. So I'm just going to buff this straight line. Ordinarily, Tomb is limited by how many merit dots you have of Tomb, which traditionally is 5, but you can make justifications with your storyteller to boost it beyond 5. Chronicles of Darkness always allows for that sort of fun times and that sort of silliness. So, in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to bump the perils up to 4. This represents traps that do effectively 4 lethal in a turn. Things like the salt acid spray that comes in the first movie, where the diggers are getting in underneath the Temple of Anubis and they pop open a portion of sandstone and out sprays this acidic compound onto these diggers, these Arab diggers, and it's implied that they're killed. It's not expressly said that they're killed, but several of them are. do die. We're also going to slap down 5 dots of provisions for Hamunaptra because of the gold that's left there, of the jewels, of the wealth. And because of its connection to the underworld, we're going to bump up geometry to increase the healing of pillar points. And so this is a dangerous place to be for anyone. This is connected to the Judges of Duat. There are lots of dangers, but there is good loot. You know, if your characters care about that. The harmonic centerpiece of Hamunaptra is one of 2 books, I would say. Now the harmonic centerpiece is a item of some description that is powering the life force within the area. And for you guys in chat, I really invite you to think of what sort of power the Black Book of the Dead has in Hamunaptra. What's the power of it within the Mummy movie? Obviously using spells, and you could argue that it's a mage grimoire of some description, or it's something that has bound in utterances or something like that. But the Black Book of the Dead is the thing that makes this tomb a home, more than just a house. So we're going to build one. This is a relic. The Black Book of the Dead. The Dead. And we're going to buff its rating to 5 dots. Because this we want to be a story item. Remember, we're not building Imhotep to be a player character, we're building him to be an antagonist. So the Black Book of the Dead should have some serious power behind it, but should also have similar curses behind it, something that negatively affects Imhotep. Alright, so the size of this is going to be 2, because it's big, it's heavy, it's hard to move. Durability is going to be 2, which ordinarily is wood, but it's carefully designed metal. It's the sort of thing that we want to keep around. Its structure is 3, so it is breakable if you're really concentrated about it. Alright, so if any of you in chat have any ideas how we might slap in a 5 dots, the power or the curse of a 5 dot effect, basically 5 experiences worth of effect, feel free to throw it in. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So I have a bit more tea. And look up a bit more of what the Black Book of the Dead does. Okay, some 5-year-old child walking their dog has elected to walk across our front lawn because we don't have any fences, which is fun, bit rude. Sure. Book of the Dead. Yes, my grass is obviously good enough for a 5-year-old to walk across. All right. Well, let's think. Let me give it a think. So, some of the things the Book of the Dead we see doing is bringing mummies to life. So cults can do this. Maybe because of this relic can be used by a cult to summon in a point of Sekhem. Actually, Sekhem is the power stat of mummies, um, which gives them life, gives them movement, that sort of thing. Actually, I like that idea. So it allows through citing a page of the book. Generate point of for a mummy. Animates lesser mummies for one scene. So this is a powerful relic. It allows you to either, if in the case of Imhotep, because Sekhem deteriorates over time and the general power of the mummy deteriorates over time, this allows the cult who has this and is in the tomb of Hey Luna Nvidia. Hope you're doing well. Um, because you can do that, and as mummy's power decreases, a 5-dot relic that says I can prevent this is really cool. It also gives the effect of one of the utterances, which the animate awaken the dead utterance generate lesser mummies for one scene. So it's powerful, but because of that, it needs a requisite curse. Um, so what do people think? I feel like it needs something that either affects the cult in some way, like they take. It should affect people differently. Um, what I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, chat, is that the curse that this should have is it when used by a cult, it deals 1 aggravated fidelity damage. So when used by a cult, it really hurts what the cult is attempting to do. Actually, I have to boost some elements of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Double next second drop. So as you're a mummy and as time goes on, your Sekhem slowly drops more and more and you start to lose power. However, for this, what I think is because you're giving Sekhem to a mummy, the next time it drops Sekhem, the next time it drops this animating power, it loses 2 points instead of 1. You've stolen something from the judges, and now they've come to reap it back twofold. Which I think is amusing, if nothing else. What do people think? Most people are thinking. Yeah, awesome. So, power-wise, that is basically how you might stat Imhotep from the Mummy 1999 without, slapping in attributes or skills. Maybe you just want this to be this vague and evocative creature that is constantly coming after the party, constantly fighting the party. This sort of antagonist can work even if you're not running a mummy game. If you're running mage, mummies are a serious problem. They're often unable to be affected by the powers of the supernal realms. If you're running a werewolf, mummies do lots of weird things that can affect the shadow. For changelings, they change dreams and they affect the way that people behave in a town, which can be fun. And if you like this idea, um, well, either rewatch and steal some of the ideas, steal some of the things, or find me on Instagram at the Rampant Wombat, and you'll be able to get a few photos and that sort of thing of this, where you see what's been done, and yeah, that'll be uploaded today. All right, I've got to sign off. Um, I've gone far over time, but I hope that people have enjoyed this, and I'm going to raid us into Critical Role for those of you who want to watch that. Alright, be well, guys, and stay safe.